The census is a huge enterprise. It takes 7 years to plan a census, to plan and execute a census, and we do one every 5 years. So we've already started on the next one. It's an exercise that requires us to find every dwelling and every person in Australia. So we either have to send them a letter or we have to visit them. And that's an enormous undertaking. We think it's probably the biggest peacetime exercise that Australia undertakes.
We set ourselves 3 high-level objectives for the 2021 census. We wanted to be smooth running, well supported, and to produce high-quality data. We built the digital service from the ground up to make sure that it was seamless and a pleasant experience for people who wanted to fill in online. The complications that were presented by COVID-19 meant that we had to be agile, we had to respond depending on the circumstances on the ground in different parts of Australia. But in fact, in many places it led to more of an uptake of the digital platform because people preferred to have a contactless way of filling it in.
Security and privacy by design was a key aspect we brought into the 2021 census. From the initial stages of planning and design all the way through to delivery. We ensured that all systems utilised for the census were subject to thorough cybersecurity assessments. The utilisation of cloud service provided very high levels of scalability and security and availability for the census service that we had not previously had.
The approach we took to the design of the 2021 census experience was fundamentally grounded in the Digital Transformation Agency's digital service standards, and they really helped us place the user, the Australian public, as individuals at the heart of our thinking. There were several things that we did differently in 2021 to make it easier for people to complete. These included allowing people to log in without a letter. We also really were very clear on the opportunity to respond around the census night, not just on census night, and that afforded people an opportunity to complete when it made the most sense for them.
We view 2016 as a very valuable learning experience from the customer's perspective. In 2021, for the first time, we used social media as a customer support channel. So we took about 85,000 queries in that channel. We had an automated 24-hour paper form request service. People were able to order a braille form and order a large print form. Our website featured a support chatbot called Claire, who had 376,000 conversations with customers. The contact centre, we worked with Services Australia for 2021, and that answered around 645,000 calls. That was a big reduction on 2016, and that spoke to all of the customer support channels that we had put in place.
The 2021 census is considered the most accessible Australian census yet, and is regarded as world-class in its support for accessibility. The website and the form worked on desktop and mobile platforms, supported by a wide variety of assistive technologies like screen readers. Our efforts to ensure accessibility was recognized when the ABS in the 2021 census won the Government Website of the Year award at the Australian Access Awards.
While we know the majority of the population can participate without requiring additional assistance, there are groups where a tailored approach is more appropriate. This includes people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, people experiencing homelessness, and people with disability. We did a number of new things for 2021 census. We ran over 300 pop-up hubs right across the country to make sure people had a place they could go to get information, ask questions, and to get a paper form easily.
In remote parts of Australia, we reach people via a remote area strategy. A lot of people in these regional and remote areas are very passionate about the census. They really know how important it is to get the numbers right.
The census communication campaign is becoming more and more important with each census that we do. It's really important for motivating the public to respond early, but also it helps us get that response from the public without us having to send a field officer to every household in the whole country. The advertising campaign focused on human stories, That is how the data improved the lives of communities, families and individuals. We had an enormous response to the census by the end of census night, and that put us in a really fantastic position as we headed into the reminder phase of the campaign. We had actually planned to send out 6.7 million reminder letters, and we only needed to send out 2.7 million letters.
We produced about 1,200 tonnes of material, and that equates to about 700 family sedans, and that includes everything from paper forms through to face masks for our field staff. We cover around about 300,000 kilometres by road. Australia Post were one of our key partners in that they were able to actually dispatch 8.3 million approach letters around the country.
The ABS employs about 33,000 field staff, and then we also employ about 400 field support staff within the ABS to run the field operations management. In 2021, we centralised our field operations management. Moving from local teams to a centralised model improved efficiency and effectiveness for both our staff and respondents.
To run a huge logistical exercise like the census, we need to know what's happening out there. The Operations Insight project showed us what was happening in the field. It gave real-time data that enabled the census field management team to see where they needed more staff or where we might need to send more paper forms.
Completed census paper forms are predominantly mailed back to us, all the way to our secure site in Dandenong. We have a lot of quality process checks right through our coding processes, but when we get the data into aggregate form, we then have a really concentrated time on assuring and quality checking the data. We also have an external independent assurance panel who take an independent look at the census, and they look at our processes right end to end in terms of the quality assurance that we do, but also the way we collect the data, our design.
The census is so important because it's the only data that we have about Australians where we can report at really small levels. We can report at really small geographies, by age breakdowns. We have a richness in that data that we can't get elsewhere. And the data is so widely used because of that. It's used for the big ticket items that we all know about, like electoral boundaries and big infrastructure projects, but it's also used at the local level. It's used by NGOs, it's used by local governments in order to be able to plan services for local communities. The census is too big for any one organisation to do it alone. And this census, more than any other, we partnered extensively. We had over 50 partners from the private sector and from government. We also worked with community groups so that they could support their members in understanding about the census and how to complete it. And that was a key to our success. The census enterprise is huge. At peak, we had 35,000 staff working on the census, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of those. Whether you were out in the field or in the office or doing support work through IT, whatever it was, you were really important to making the census a success.